What if you could accelerate your performance so much when you're sleeping the right amount of time? And what if that would cause you to have a 20% gain in your sales? How you can be the greatest salesperson on the planet.
If you think you're getting enough sleep, you're wrong. In this episode, Jim and I talk about how to create an 8-hour sleep opportunity every single night, what it looks like to set up your room and environment to sleep well and sleep deep, and how sleep is one of the most important crucial factors to your success in sales. All right, let's jump in and rethink sales. Welcome to the Rethink Sales Show. Jim, you did such an excellent job last week talking about the importance of preparation. I was blown away. I never heard anybody talk about preparation in that way, and how preparation actually prepares you for the next day to go in, show up, and be ready to be fully yourself, fully alive, fully present with what you're doing as a salesperson, as an entrepreneur. And it was profound. So as I started journaling and thinking about what can this week look like, I thought about, okay, before we jump into Jim, what do you do in the morning and what does the morning look like? I wanted to talk about something that I know you and I deeply value. And it's something I believe that's an important part of being an entrepreneur, a salesperson, is the value of sleep. So I'm actually going to read, usually we don't have a ton of notes for this, we're pretty extemporaneous, but I'm going to read some sleep data to you, and then I want you to comment on it, because I think it's huge in how we value sales and what it looks like as a salesperson, as an entrepreneur, to move forward to getting better at your sales, right? Having a stronger approach to your sales, connecting with people, serving folks well. So I want to talk about the 8-hour sleep opportunity. So listen to this, Jim. A lot of people say, I don't need.
I think you're spot on. I think you're spot on.
A lot of people say I don't need 8 hours of sleep. I'm good on 5, or I'm good on 6. I won't call you a liar. Some people may say that they're good on 5 or they're good on 6, but scientists will tell you differently. World-renowned sleep expert Dr. Matthew Walker, I'm just going to read this, says that 60 years of research prevents him from believing that people who say they're good on 5 or 6 hours of sleep can actually get by on 5 to 6 hours of sleep. And you're saying, well, wait, Derek, surely 7 hours of sleep is fine. I thought that too, guys. If you're listening, I thought, 7 hours of sleep is fine. For so long, I operated on 6.5 to 7 hours of sleep myself. But according to the data, after 10 days of just 7 hours of sleep, the brain is as dysfunctional as if you went for sleep without 24 hours. Wow, Jim. Sleep without 24 hours on 7 hours of sleep. But then you might say, well, Derek, I feel fine on less than 8 hours of sleep. So who cares, right? Who cares? I'm still an effective salesperson. I'm still an effective entrepreneur. Why does it matter? But did you know that research shows that we're terrible at estimating how much sleep we get, and the lack of sleep, how the lack of sleep has an impact on our performance? See, that's where this connects to sales. That's where this connects, is we don't actually estimate very well how much the lack of sleep we get impacts our performance. Actually, so I got this from a book called Redeeming Your Time, all these stats that I'm reading to you. The Journal of Epidemiology found that most people get 25% less sleep than they believe they do. So if you think you're getting 7 hours of sleep, wow, you're more likely getting 5.5. So not only, Jim, are we awful at recognizing how much sleep we get, but we're also awful at recognizing the impact that sleep has on our performance as a salesperson or entrepreneur. So summarizing all of this, the University of Pennsylvania says that after a week or two of sleep limitation, subjects were more markedly impaired and less alert, but they rated themselves as moderately tired. The study suggests that we overestimate the impact that sleep limitation or sleep restriction has on our performance. Okay, let's tie this together. This is the equivalent of having too much to drink and saying you're okay to drive. Just as friends don't let friends drive drunk, salespeople and entrepreneurs, we're calling out to you in this episode and saying, don't let other people, other sales folks, right? We all want to win as a team. Don't let each other undervalue sleep. And you may say, well, Derek, I'm an exception. Well, according to research, only 1 in 4 million people are actually able to function normally on 5 to 6 hours of sleep. So you're 6 times more
Correct.
likely, Jim, to win a gold medal than you are to be in that rare genetic disposition where you can function really, really well on 5 to 6 hours of sleep. So what do you do, Jim? What do? You plan for 8 hours of sleep. We probably don't like that fact, but it's real. And so I wanted you to talk about the importance of sleep in the next step. So the first step was preparation the night before you go into a sales meeting, before you meet with a new client, before you meet with your team, the importance of preparation. But now I want you to talk about what you've learned about sleep and how it connects to rethinking sales. So I know that was a long intro, but I think
that's a lot.
So much to say.
There's a lot to unpack, and I'm going to need you to jump in because you said some things that are alarming to me. And so the first thing you said was, I can get by on 5.5 hours sleep. I know you're not saying that, but so that's the common thing that people, I can get by. But listen to those words. I can get by. Is that what you want? I mean, do you want to just get by with your health? Do you want to just get by with your marriage? Do you want to just get by with your spirituality? Just get by? I mean, that doesn't sound very appealing to a high-powered guy like you or myself. Or like, well, I don't want to get by. I want to excel. I want to be great. I don't want to get by. So getting by right off the bat takes me out of that idea. So that said, and I don't know about the 1 in 4 million. I think that might be, I don't know. To me, that sounds like an exaggeration. But I can tell you this: the genetic mutation that causes somebody to be able to excel on 5 to 5.5 hours of sleep is such a rare thing that it's just not worth talking about. And if you happen to have that situation where you can excel, not get by, forget about get by. We're not interested in get by. If you want to talk about get by, this is not the show for you. So we don't want to get by. We want to excel. Let's be clear about that, right? That's what this is all about, is excelling. And so getting by is not in my purview. But that said, guess what I did when I was in the automobile business? I was a dummy. I was stupid. And I believed that I could get by on 5 to 5.5 hours of sleep every night. Matter of fact, I wore it like a badge of honor. Like, oh, look at me, I'm King Kong. I didn't understand it. I didn't. By the way, I have read Matt Walker's book. I know the book very well. I've watched podcasts with Matt Walker. I don't know Matt Walker personally, but I know him very well. The guy is a renowned sleep expert. I didn't know about him back when I was in the automobile business. So I slept 5 to 5.5 hours a night, 4, 4.5, 3. And then I would come in to the dealership and I would load up on Mountain Dew. I drank 3 Mountain Dews a day, 2 to 3, sometimes 4, probably average 3 a day. And guess what? I ended up unhealthy. I ended up with all kinds of problems. And I'm still fighting those problems today. So, I tell my kids all the time, don't do what I did, right? But we wore it like it was a badge of honor. So the fact is that you absolutely can get by on 5 to 5.5 hours of sleep per night. Is that your goal, to get by? That's not what I thought. We weren't talking about, quote, getting by. We're talking about excelling. We're talking about great strategies to improve ourselves. So 5.5 hours of sleep is a non-starter. Okay. The next thing about my sleep is, now that I have it figured out, I measure my sleep every single night. And so I know
me too.
exactly how much sleep I get. So I measure it. So I know, right? I have 2 different methodologies that I use to measure it. I wear an Oura ring, O-U-R-A, and I wear a Whoop strap. And so because these aren't necessarily accurate the way I want them to be accurate, so I figure the combination of the two are really, really important. And so the idea behind the sleep would be to have a sleep budget. And so you're saying 8 hours. That is exactly the information that I have read. So that means if you feel pretty comfortable that you're going to wake up at 7 o'clock in the morning, that means you need to be sleeping at 11 o'clock at night. Or if you feel pretty comfortable that you're going to wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning and that's what you're going to do, then you need to be in bed sleeping at 10 o'clock at night. It's just that simple. It's math, right? Or if you get up at, Jim, some people get up at 5 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah. See, I think people think that sleeping means Sleeping means, oh, I just need to crawl in bed at 11 if I'm getting up at 7. But no, you need to be asleep at 11, which means you need to plan, part of that preparation.
Exactly.
Plan to be asleep by 11, which is a very different thing.
Yep. Exactly. And so I want to budget that. And so if I know with my circadian rhythm that I'm going to wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning, if I know that, or if for example, I'm going to go to the gym, I hear people, I watch as people talk about, like they'll actually post a picture of themselves in front of the gym, LA Fitness, whatever, at 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, this is not good. And I don't comment. I leave it go. It's none of my business. But like, this is not good. It's not good. So if you want to be great, then you have to have a plan for 8 hours of sleep per night. You have to have that plan. And so if you want to be great, that would clearly eliminate the nightlife. And you know, if you say, well, but I want to go out and drink with the girls and guys, and I want to do that, well, then you don't want to be great. I mean, it's real simple. You know, just follow successful people. We always tell you that, right? Successful people leave clues.
Yes.
So look at what Tom Brady does, the greatest quarterback of all time. Look at what he does. Ask him what he does. You can find out. Just do some searching, or look at these high-performing people. What do they do? Are there exceptions to that? Of course there are, but that's not what we want to talk about today. We don't want to talk about exceptions. So we're going to start. Oh, and by the way, I want to be very clear here, ladies and gentlemen. This is not medical advice. Derek has asked me a question about what I do, and I'm answering that question, but I'm not giving you medical advice. I'm not a doctor. I am a car salesman. So none of this is medical advice. But Derek brought up Matt Walker. I've read Matt Walker's book, and I've watched his podcasts. I don't think he has a podcast, but he does podcasts with other people, and I've watched several of them, and he's great. I love that guy. He's brilliant. And so, anyways, so you would want to budget 8 hours of sleep. And now remember, this is also, if you remember, Derek, last week I talked about prep 1, prep 2, prep 3, right? We're in prep 1. So prep 1 is, you know, how do I set my stage for sleep? And so when you read about sleep, the way I have, one of the things they're going to tell you to do is to have a sleep routine. So this gets very, very intricate. But so I sleep. I have a zoned air conditioning system in my room. So I sleep at 65 degrees when I'm home. I'm not home right now, but when I'm home, 65 degrees.
Good for you.
Is my temperature. Yeah, well, read about it. Yeah. It's cold, but I sleep at 65. Yeah. I have blackout
That's what they recommend.
In my room because when there is light hitting my I'll hit them all. So I have blackout curtains in my room. So it's dark. It's very, very dark. I shut off. I wear blue blockers at night. Starting literally at 7:30, I've got blue blockers on, so I'm blocking out the light in general. I'm minimizing. I believe it's whatever that light wave is. Again, I'm a car salesman, but I wear blue blockers. Long story short, so blue blockers. The cold room. I sleep grounded. I have what is called a grounding sheet. So I'm actually, it'd be like as if I was standing outside on the ground. That's grounding, and in my bare feet. So I'm barefoot. I'm on the ground. That's grounding. Well, I have what is called a grounding sheet, which it has a wire attached to it that connects into the bottom of the electrical outlet. It's not electricity, but you're grounded. And so when I lay there, when my naked skin hits that sheet, I am grounded, like as if I was laying on the earth. Which that's where we're from a evolutionary perspective. That's where we slept for a long, long time. I don't know the exact number of days or years or whatever. But let's say for 500,000 years, we slept on the ground. That's what we did, and so we were grounded. Yeah. So I do that as a method of my sleep strategy. I also have a condition called sleep apnea. Again, not medical advice, but I do have it, and so I have a CPAP. And if you read about sleep, they're going to say, "Oh, if you got sleep apnea, you got to fix that," because what happens with sleep apnea, and you wouldn't notice because you're sleeping, but guess what? You're not sleeping. And so when I did a sleep test, which is highly recommended, turned out I was waking up 100 times a night. 100 times a night. I don't know that because I'm quote unquote air quotes I'm sleeping. But you're not sleeping. You're waking up, and because what happens is you stop breathing. That's what sleep apnea is. You stop breathing. There's some kind of a constriction that occurs that you stop breathing. And because you stop breathing, you wake up. And so you have to deal with that. If you have that, it's a very, 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 very dangerous thing. And even though you got that 8 hours that you just mentioned, if you have sleep apnea, you're going to be sleep deprived. It's that simple. So I have a CPAP, I have sleep apnea, I have a CPAP. I use that every night without fail. I never, ever, ever don't use it. I sleep. I have another system called New Calm, and capital N, small U, capital CALM, and it plays. I can play the sound of rain. I can play music, and I can play, I can play what is called white noise. So 3 different options, and I play that every night. And what it does is behind the noise is what are called binaural beats, and this induces what is called theta, which is the deep sleep wave. So it induces that, and so it affects my deep sleep in a positive way. Done a lot of research, done a lot of studying about that. So I do that. I also I eliminate screen time very aggressively. That's a slippery slope in that it can be challenging to do that, because I really do like to respond to any kind of a message I get, whether it be Facebook or a text message or an email. I really like to be on top of that, and I really don't want to do it in terms of, I know it's not the best thing to do, but I do have my blue blockers on, and so I will respond to some of this stuff at night. Like if I wish somebody happy birthday and they say, hey, thank you, I like to get back to them and say, you're welcome.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
I just like doing that. So yeah, I'm not perfect, but I really shouldn't be doing that. But I do have my blue blockers on. But at the end of the, and then I get in bed. And so now I am in bed and I read a hard book, so I don't read from an iPad or my phone or anything like that. I actually read a hard book, hard meaning physically holding the book. And then of course there's the discipline journaling, which can really be a very useful dump, DUMP, and that I'm going over my disciplines, and I have my disciplines right now on a list form. So, and it's actually in my book, and I open up, I look at it and say, well, how did I do? Yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. And I look at my day, and then the next step to the discipline journaling would be the gratitude journaling. And, what am I grateful for? What are 3 things that I'm grateful for? So I'm grateful for this podcast, and I'm grateful that I did a great workout today, and I'm grateful for the smoothies that Amy made for me. And so there's 3 gratefuls. And then what brought me calm today? And one of the things, and I'm going to go forward a little bit, but one of the things that I do religiously is I do a morning meditation. So I am awake. CPAP is off. I'm in bed, and it's very, very comfortable. Now, remember, I'm retired. So it's if you want to do a meditation in the morning, you've got to allocate time for that, right?
Yes.
So that's where maybe the schedule, when you got to be in the shower, all that stuff. So you would just maybe do a 5-minute meditation or a 10-minute meditation. But it's a great way to start your day. You're in bed. You could get your phone, forget about emails, forget about texting, and just set it for 10 minutes and just do a deep breathing session, which really does start the day. Some people pray. Some people, whatever you want to do to set your day between sleeping and getting out of bed. So I think I covered everything I do as far as the sleep is concerned. You obviously want to avoid caffeine. You want to avoid caffeine. I believe the number, you'll hear it no later than 2 o'clock. I cut it off. Like I'm doing caffeine right now. So it sounds contradictory, but it's my oolong tea. Not a lot of caffeine in oolong tea, but still it is caffeine nevertheless. But I very rarely even do that, but I actually forgot about my oolong tea. That's a habit that has nothing to do with sleep, of course, but it's a habit that I learned from another source, that I need to be drinking oolong tea every day. So I do, but I forgot about it. I actually had it made, and it's in this container, and so I'm going to drink it while we do this. And I'll let you know. I'll let you know if it disrupts my sleep, because I measured. I'll know. So another strategy for sleep is, if you do have that bad night of sleep, then it would be highly recommended that you take a nap. But you want to take that nap early in the day. So I know you're selling cars. You're going to be at the dealership at 9 o'clock in the morning, but maybe for lunch you could do a half-hour meditation, which does translate into a nap. So you just do a deep breathing session. Again, set your alarm. You set it for half an hour, and it really does. It'll pick up with my Aura or my Whoop. It picks up as a sleep. It'll say, "Did you sleep from this point to that point?" Yes, I did. Or did you take a nap? Excuse me. And so it does move your sleep scores, which that's a positive thing. Oh, by the way, I was going to say something. Here's something you may not be aware of, Derek, and maybe you are, but you know that sleep deprivation is a form of torture?
I did not.
Did you know that?
I didn't. No. Mm-mm. No.
Yeah, look it up. It is a form of, it is one of the worst ways, I guess I should say best ways, but it just disturbs me that people get tortured in any way, shape, or form. But what they do is they keep them awake for hours upon hours, and then they let them fall asleep, and they wake them up right away, and they keep them awake for hours and hours and hours, and they actually go insane. That's when they do the dumping of information, but they become insane because you have to have sleep. You have to have sleep. It's so vitally important to that preparation for the following day. And here's another one you might be interested in. If you're sleep deprived for one night, do you know that you're oftentimes people are pre-diabetic the next day?
Mm-hmm.
Did you know that when you are sleep deprived, that you're safer? And I'm not telling you to drink and drive, but that's against the law. That's a terrible thing. But when you're sleep deprived, that's actually worse for driving than if you're drunk. It's actually worse. And the reason being is because when you're drunk, your reactions are very delayed. When you're sleep deprived, you have no reaction because there's a good possibility you could fall asleep on the road. It's just and your reactions would be also incredibly delayed. This sleep deprivation is a big deal. It's nothing to mess with. So if we want to be successful at anything in life, we need to protect our sleep. That's a fact.
So, Jim, we've talked a lot about sleep for, the first 30 minutes of this. What does sleep have to do with sales? Somebody might be listening and be like, what? I kind of get it, Jim. Like I need to sleep to, be better performant. But I think it's way deeper than that. To me, I think this is,
it's way,
are you choosing to win, right? Are you choosing to win? Are you choosing to set your life up in a way that you'll see reflected in your business if you're an entrepreneur or a business owner, and you'll see reflected in your sales, right? I think that's where it's important to tie the knot between those two things, because we're talking about very in-depth ways of thinking about sleep, and I think very much the Pragmatist podcast that we've been developing and growing and now really focusing on sales, right? This is super applicable to know what it looks like to sleep well, right? You sleep a significant amount of your life. And so, Jim, connect the dots for me between sleep and sales.
Well, even the way you're stating it, to me, you're missing the point. So let's go back. Let's take a step back. And I think you're missing the point. And what I mean by that is this is REthink.
Yeah, that's fine.
This is REthink. So when I say sleep, you're going to say, wow, what are you talking about sleep for? Well, wait a second. We're asking you to rethink. We're asking you to rethink here. And we're saying if you want to be a great salesperson, you need to rethink your thinking relative to sleep. And you need to do your own research relative to sleep. And when you do enough research like I have, which is to have read Sleep Alone, probably 10 books and podcasts and listen, like I keep doing this, right? Sleep is really, really important. On my list of things that I need to do to lead a successful life, sleep is number one. Number one, without doubt. And also number one is stress reduction. You said, well, isn't sales a high stress job? Well, there you go. All the more reason to have a strategy there too. And I want to tie those two together, because guess what happens when you don't have the right amount of sleep? You become stressed out. Guess what happens when you have too much stress? You don't sleep properly. So those two are really closely tied together. And so if I'm right and you choose to not rethink your attitude about sleep, and you're a salesman, you're selling something, but you choose to ignore what I'm saying. So what happens when things aren't going so well in a sales career? Does your stress go up or does your stress go down? So if I'm right, if the stress goes up, too much month at the end of the money, right? It's stress, right? I haven't sold a car in a week. I haven't sold a house in 6 months. Your stress goes up, right? Which affects your sleep. Your sleep affects your stress. Your stress affects your sleep. And so it's a vicious cycle. So I have those number one and number one for a reason. So I'm going to work very, very aggressively on my sleep, and I didn't do that. Let's be clear about that. I didn't do that. But guess what? I have peripheral vascular disease. Guess what? I have issues with different circulation problems in my body. Why? Because I was stupid. Okay, so we're here to get you to rethink your stupidity. If you're like me,
yes,
don't do what I did.
So good.
I was dumb.
Yeah.
I was dumb. I was really, really, really dumb. And so I wish I would have had the opportunity. And I shouldn't even say that because I did have the opportunity. I ignored it. I didn't pay attention. I thought I was King Kong. So sleep is really, really important, as is stress mitigation, right? And so here I am, 65 years old. I already showed you the book earlier when we first started talking, but I bought a course on reducing stress. And the guy's name that basically wrote the program is John Kabat-Zinn. And people that are into this idea of meditation and yoga and whatnot, they know who this cat is. He is what we call all the time expert counsel. So I'm going to be working on, at 65, retired, on reducing my stress. Why would I want to work on reducing my stress? And what in the heck does that have to do with selling stuff? Well, for me, you know, it's not about selling cars anymore, but it is about selling Jim Shorkey. It is about selling our ideas here on the Rethink You show. And so I have to be on top of my game in order to do that. And if I am sleep deprived, and if I am stressed out, I'm not going to be on my game. I am on my game. I am very, very cognitively aware right now. I can talk with the best of them right now. And so I'm going to get the results that I want to get based on working on these ideas. And so how does it all tie together?
Exactly.
Again, if you want to be successful at sales, then you've got to have your game plan together. And I would say, you know, talk to the professional athletes, talk to the really, really successful people in the world, and you'll find out that they do these things very, very, very well. Are there exceptions to that? Of course. But I don't want to follow exceptions. I want to follow principles that work on a high percentage basis. And so I like Matt Walker. I like the fact that he's got these 3 letters after his name called PhD. I like that. So I listen to him, and then I do further research. And it's like, this guy's right. Oh, that's right. Oh, geez, he's right about that. Oh, my goodness gracious, he's right about that. And now I get my list. And so that's why they tell you to have a sleep routine. Sleep routine is nothing but a list, right? So if I get the right amount of sleep, then I can wake up in the morning and not have to hit the snooze button 15 times because I don't want to get out of bed. Like, I wake up, I'm ready to go. I do my meditation. I do that virtually every morning. Not every single morning, but just about every single morning, even if it's just for 5 minutes of just deep breathing, paying attention to my breath, and really trying to get myself into a very, very mindfulness practice approach. And sometimes I'll meditate for an hour. Now, again, remember, I'm retired, so I don't have to be at the dealership today. So I'm retired, so I can do that. But you know what? There's some old farts like me, okay, who are listening to this right now. And so, you know, if you are retired, well, what the heck? You don't have to get out of bed right away. You can do this, right? And it will affect the quality of your life relative to, you know, moving forward. And so what is my intent today? My intent today is to sell the world on the ideas that I have become sold on over the years. That's why we're doing a Rethink Jim Shorkey sales show. And in the process of that, Jim Shorkey is rethinking Jim Shorkey. And here's the evidence. I'm using this book. I actually block out the image of myself and Derek Kelly because I tend to look at the image, and that means I'm looking off the camera. Bad idea. But this is what I haven't opened it up yet. It's still in the plastic. You can see it's not been opened up yet. It's still in the plastic. But it's called a mindfulness-based stress reduction workbook. It includes an MP3 CD with 21 guided meditations. Pretty cool. And so because these things, it's Bob Stahl, PhD. I like that. Alicia Goldstein, PhD. I like that. Forward by John Kabat-Zinn, PhD. Afterward by Saki Santorelli, ED.D, whatever that means. I don't know. But so this is the workbook for the course.
Yep.
Yeah. But Okay,
Yep.
so you know.
Yep.
But so this is the work for the course. But in the course, you're actually talking to John Kabat-Zinn. Am I saying that right? Yeah, John Kabat-Zinn. I think I'm saying it right. So all I'm trying to say is like, well, yeah, but Jim, you know, you don't really do this stuff, do you? I do it more than anybody. Anybody I know. There's nobody I know that does it more than I do. The idea being rethink Jim Shorkey. I'm doing it right now. Hence the proof. Okay. Now, again, it hasn't been opened up yet. There's a reason for that because I'm reading another book right now, which I love. But when I get home, I'm going to be diving into this course. It's actually a course, Seek Expert Counsel. And when I talked to Amy about it, she wants to be involved in it as well. So we're going to do it together, which that's kind of cool, right? We're going to do it together. And, you know, like people talk all the time about, I'm watching this show, I'm watching that show. This is the show I'm going to watch. This is the show I'm going to watch. I'm going to spend time watching this show. I'm not going to watch TV. I don't watch TV. Again, back to the preparation.
Yep.
TV calms me down. Well, actually, it doesn't. That's not true. It's absolutely not true. If you did something like this and replaced TV with that, my goodness, you might, you might be shocked as to what happens. I was talking to my father-in-law the other night. He's a really good guy. He's a really, really good guy. And I was talking about intermittent fasting. And he said, well, I can't do that because I would lose weight. I said, you don't know that. Oh, yeah, I do. No, you don't. Yeah, I do. No, you don't. How do you know that? You never did it. How do you know you're going to lose weight? I said, here's what happened to me. I'm a big time intermittent faster. I said, and yes, I did in fact lose weight, but as my body healed because of intermittent fasting, I actually gained it back plus some. So I was weighing in at like 165, let's say, and so I'm doing intermittent fasting. I actually got down as low as 150, and I thought, I better add more food into this process because I'm a big workout guy and all that. So, but I stuck with it, and gradually over time, and I weigh myself every morning except for on vacation because I didn't bring my scale, but I weigh myself every morning, so I know what my numbers are, and so I'm back up to 162, 163 religiously. Maybe 161, maybe 163 are the kind of the aberration, but typically it's 162. And that's what I said to my father. I said, you don't know that. How do you know that? I love how people say that kind of stuff like, oh, yeah, this is what's going to happen. How do you know that?
Yeah.
How do you know? Well,
yeah.
I just know.
mean, same thing with me.
Until you do it, you don't know. And maybe you're, yeah. Maybe you're right. Maybe you would lose weight. And then that's when you make adjustments. Yeah. I'm listening.
I was tracking my water intake and, somebody said to me, oh, you don't want to drink too much water, Derek, because that'd be really bad for you. And it's like, well, how do you know? Right? Like it tells me to drink, close to half my body weight in water, a tiny bit less, but close to half my body weight in water. I'm doing that. Sometimes it's other beverages like tea, right? But I'm not, people say, oh, you shouldn't track that. You might, you gotta make sure you don't over drink too much water. And I'm like, well, I'm not even close to over drinking too much water. So
no, you're not.
Yeah.
You know what?
Yeah.
And here's the answer. I have a new answer for you. Could you just send me the link on that? I'd like to read that. Send me the link. Just send me the link. I'm saying, you know what I'm saying? Like when somebody says that to you, like you mentioned Matt Walker.
Right.
If I wanted to know about Matt Walker, I say, hey, Derek, send me the link on it. Oh, I already read the book. I have it highlighted and I can show you. I highlighted and noted. It's a great book. It's Why We Sleep, I believe, is the title of the book. I'm pretty sure I'm right about that. Why We Sleep. And Matt Walker, by the way, says, if sleep is such a bad idea, it's the biggest evolutionary mistake in history because we're hardwired to sleep 8 hours. We sleep, in other words, when you sleep, think about being a hunter and gatherer. When you sleep, you're subject to predation. I mean, you're laying on the ground. Somebody could come up and just grab you, right? So it's such a powerful thing that we did it in spite of that danger. It was a very dangerous play. And so what would happen is some people would start off the night watching the fire while people were sleeping, and then somebody would take their place, and so they got their sleep in, but they slept. They had to sleep. It was very important. So if it's a bad idea, then it's the worst evolutionary mistake in history. But that would be an example, though. Matt Walker, PhD, I learned from him. These people here, I'm going to learn from them about stress reduction. And if I'm right, which I'm pretty darn confident that I am from all the research I've done, I'm just going to take what they tell me to do, and I'm going to implement it into my daily strategy. And so what if we were to say, instead of watching that TV program, which I realize kind of, I'm not sure. Me personally, I'm not sure how much entertainment it is, but I'll leave that go. But the fact is that what if you could accelerate your performance so much when you're sleeping the right amount of time and working on your stress reduction? And what if that would cause you to have a 20% gain in your sales? And then you kept doing it. And so you kept doing it. And maybe where you were meditating for half an hour a day to begin, and you stretch that to an hour. And now you're taking more time out of that TV time. And pretty soon it's like, you know what? I love this so much. I'm doing it with my significant other. I'm doing it with a friend, whatever the case may be. But we're working on this together, and we have a mini mastermind alliance going on, and we're getting such great results. I can't believe I didn't do this sooner. I can't believe I didn't do it sooner.